But really what we're here today to talk about is what you see here, bridging private fleet and dedicated partnerships. We're a dedicated contract carriage carrier. We own 375 semis, but we also do final mile home delivery, and those are contracted drivers. So on our side, there are drivers, there are trucks, and we do mostly building supplies. So we're doing a lot of the same route every day, 250-mile radius, same drivers going to the same place with familiarity. So how do we, the middle ground transportation strategy and bridging that is what we're going to be talking about. A little bit about myself. I worked at C.H. Robinson for a little over 10 years. Obviously, they have a large portfolio of services. I wanted to get out of brokerage, so I came here to PTG. And again, we operate the trucks and the drivers. Dave?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Andy. My name is Dave Edmonds. I've been in the industry since about 1998. Started the operations side of the business, and I've stayed with it and worked into dedicated sales and modeling, pricing, all that good stuff. And like Andy said, what we wanted to just talk a little bit about today is at least what we're seeing from a strategic value for a customer today to go with a different option or to consider a different option. And that's really my goal, is to give you something to think about. Yesterday we were at a conference listening to an economist about building materials, and it was very, very, very eye-opening, to me at least, to hear his projections for inflation and all these different things. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm thinking, from a trucking standpoint, rates are historically low levels. We haven't seen these rates this low ever, and they have never stayed this low for this long. What I then did is I was doing some searching on the internet, and I found 8 large trucking companies that are public. They represent about 77,000 trucks. So, I mean, it's obviously not all of the market, but it's a good chunk of the top 100. And the overall margin decline from a trucking company over the last 5 years, I saw some as high as 80%. And on the carrier side, I'm just looking at it going, how long can this be sustainable? I don't think it can continue in going that direction for too much longer. But there are ways to protect yourself. At some point, there's going to be a break. And I do believe that there's going to be carriers, brokers, and the rates are going to skyrocket, which kind of ties back into the economist. What he had said is, if you're considering a big purchase or a private fleet purchase or a truck purchase, do it now, because there's no way it's going to be getting cheaper going forward.
And I think we're actually already seeing some of that capacity crunch. I wouldn't really, I guess, call it a crunch, but there's definitely capacity leaving the network, right? So we're seeing rates start to go up a little bit, more of a slow burn than a crunch. But we are seeing it on all the major load boards. Transactional loads are always first, and then the contract rates will follow that. But you are already seeing some of that capacity leave.
And let's go into the private fleet and dedicated. Just to give everybody a quick overview, if you're operating a private fleet, you're doing it under your own MC number, your own insurance, your own risk. You're taking on all of the things that a carrier would do, which is fine. It does work well for some customers for sure. Dedicated contract carriage on the flip side is we provide the equipment, the drivers, and all the compliance, all of the regulations, all of those things that can cost a lot of money if you're not careful in this industry. That's kind of the two difference in the solutions.
Yeah, and so we talked about a little bit the changing landscape. Dave alluded to the economist that came and talked to us. So we're already seeing the driver market volatility. Luckily for us, in the dedicated space, we don't see as much driver turnover because they're home every night for the most part. It's the long haul trucker that's a different lifestyle, right? That's tough to do. In fact, I was at a conference last week in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I live in Michigan, and so to get there, it's either go to Chicago and fly down, which is also a big logistics hub. The 2 flights out of Chicago to the small airport of Chattanooga were completely full. So I drove down, right? So I drove down to Chattanooga. It was about a 10-hour and 15-minute drive. And I did that at my own pace, stopping every 2 hours, which was fine. I get some snacks and fuel up. But I started to think how exhausted I was when I got to the hotel that night. That was just a normal day, and not at their own pace for a long haul trucker, right? That's just a normal day. And so I did the same thing on the way home, took my time, and I was fine. But you understand why that lifestyle is not so sought after, right? You have to pay those people well. There's a lot of turnover, and so that's what drives that driver market volatility. So again, we don't have to deal with it as much, but it's still something to look at. Equipment and maintenance costs. Dave said, if you need something, buy it now. Costs are only going to continue to go up. I know that's hard to hear because inflation's been really sticky, but the equipment and maintenance costs are something to look at when you are operating your own private fleet. Obviously, you can pass some of those costs off to someone like PTG Logistics that's operating that dedicated business. Customer expectations are forever increasing, right? They want stuff on time, in full, every time, and sometimes even shorter time frames. And the internal bandwidth, obviously, labor costs continue to go up. So that internal bandwidth, you have the right team in place to, operate all the things that go into it. Post-accident audits, all the risk of insurance now costs going up. Do you have the expertise in-house, or should you be maybe outsourcing some of that stuff? So let's take a look at those costs. Unfortunately, this isn't meant to scare anybody, but this is the reality of the situation. So we saw prices go crazy. This is the average Class 8 tractor, so your semi-tractor, from 21 to 25, a 12.5 average annual cost increase year over year, and we expect that to go up at least until 2030 in a similar fashion.
Just a quick note, Andy, the 2027 new engine regulation, the new compliance regulation, that is not reflected on this chart.
Yeah.
And it's only going to cost more to get a new truck, hence need equipment, get it now.
And on the flip side, if you're trying to take the other approach to owning trucks and tractors and keep them longer and not swap them out every 3 to 5 years, and you want to keep that tractor longer because you think it's still operating well, here's the repairs and maintenance costs. There's really no silver bullet to how you should do it because the repairs and maintenance costs, again, the labor cost keeps going up, the part cost keeps going up. That's actually at a 14% average annual cost increase. So 12% versus 14%. Neither of them are great, great numbers. So that's just the choice that you have to make, balancing the two, and we can help you do that.
Yeah, and if you're own a private fleet today, there is 100% ways to partner with a dedicated carrier, whether it's PTG or somebody else. I would absolutely encourage you to speak with your carrier partner. For sure, we'd love to do that. But I think the most strategic thing that a private fleet can do is focus on the lanes that are the easiest. Let you guys handle that. Stick with those. Come to a dedicated provider to look for the longer length of hauls, the more stops, an opportunity to fill backhaul or fill revenue. Those are the places that I think that you can bring a lot of value to your transportation network. Well, from the middle ground perspective, what you're looking at when you have a dual carrier and private fleet kind of together, one of the benefits for sure is you're going to have embedded management. You're going to have someone like myself or Andy is going to be on site. We're going to be there. We're talking together. We're working together. We're making plans and strategizing together. The equipment and the drivers, all of that stuff's going to be under our DOT. Any new capacity that you bring, if you don't want to buy a tractor, completely fine. If you don't want to buy a trailer, completely fine. We'll bring that on over our MC. We'll take care of that. From a cost structure perspective, it's very, very transparent. In fact, a good dedicated provider will pretty much open the books for you, and you can see that and work that together. What was the last one? Sorry, Andy.
Oh, it's all right.
Go back. Well, there we go. And then just the shared KPIs and the governance. I've seen amazing things happen at customers where there is a partnership together and they're working off the same KPI and they're literally almost competing against each other in a little bit of a way. And it works out nice. So I do think that that's something that should be considered from a shipper perspective.
So evaluating that middle ground that he talked about and balancing the little bit subtle differences between the private fleet and the dedicated contract carriage. How do you find that balance? Well, you have to evaluate it first, right? So control. So input on hiring standards, service, and brand. Cost, asset efficiency, backhaul monetization, and utilization. So everybody that owns and runs a private fleet can pretty much always get product where they need it to go on time because that's what that private fleet is for, right? But are they really utilizing their fleet the best way? Is it operating efficiently? And so are there backhaul opportunities to fill that truck and make sure that they're making those turns and making money, hauling maybe other people's freight back to a town near their distribution center? The risk, compliance, safety, legal, this is a huge one. Compliance, it takes a lot. It takes dedicated people. It takes people with the knowledge and know-how. The risk, there's so many nuclear verdicts out there now that can threaten to shut down your company overnight for something that may not even be your driver's fault. We operate with front-facing cameras as well as driver-facing cameras, so we know what they're doing all the time. And we use AI to make sure that if they pick up a phone, it will alert them. It's called an alert, and we get that. We can see and make sure that our drivers are doing the right thing. And then you need a legal department that's up to date with all of the goings on in the market. I know there's some big ones right now. I know Werner had to pay a large sum for a trailer recently, which, in my opinion, I did not think that was really their fault. And scalability. So, are you able to? Do you have the money to buy all that new equipment and continue to maintain your equipment, or is that something you could balance out with a dedicated provider that already has those assets on hand?
That's exactly right, Andy. On the scalability, why don't you partner with get with your dedicated partner and utilize their existing network to fill your gaps, to fill the spots where you need capacity, especially if it's only 3 or 4 months. No one's going to want to go out and buy a tractor for 3 or 4 months. That's where the dedicated partner can really come together for you. And lastly, there is a big difference between providers. We're not all the same, even though we just drive trucks. We have hires, we have maintenance issues, but there is a huge difference. And I would encourage anyone that's listening to this to make sure that your dedicated provider is focused on your business, that they are available at any time you need them. They're answering their phone. They're getting to you because that's their core reason for existence. Direct communication, again, you'll have a single point of contact. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll be able to plan strategic surges or reductions, even right sizing in fleet. And then also the driver loyalty piece. You want to make sure you're working with a provider that has really good driver program, a good hiring, low turnover, because all that is going to do is cost you more at the end of the day if they're turning drivers over to make a few extra dollars. And then the last piece is you can still have your brand be the priority with the dedicated provider. We operate trailers with other companies' logos, and it's a great opportunity to have like that moving forward.
Yeah, and this is just a quick graphic that shows the next evolution in transportation isn't about who owns the truck, it's about who shares the mission. Again, just right-sizing that fleet and finding what works between the private fleet and dedicated contract carrier. And PTG Logistics helps shippers build dedicated fleet models. That's what we do. They feel private but perform like a carrier. Like he said, we can still have the branding on the side of the trucks. We still operate almost like a private fleet model. We'll still taking care of your business, and our core competency is trucking. So it's what we know. So we perform like a carrier, but we make sure that we're really hand in hand. In fact, in most of the offices and distribution centers of our partners with our own dedicated office space. So we really are a partner in-house, just operating like a carrier.
I think that's it, Andy.
It's it. This is the best way to get a hold of us. our email addresses, the QR codes will take you to some of the literature, and then ptglogistics.com is our website. So we appreciate you guys today. Thanks for learning a little bit about private fleet and dedicated.